I'm Lydia Scherr, and I'm the CIO of Appreciation Financial, Chief Information Officer, Chief Technology Officer. It's interchangeable sometimes, but that is my role here. And we basically manage all the data, and it's a lot of data.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. The CIO and CTO is very often, I mean, it's a very similar role. It can be different, but I think it's also interchangeable. But like you just said, you manage a lot of data. And I think often when you get into that data side, it really bleeds more into the CIO position. Now, when we talked last, did you say you were in China? You lived in China
So
for a bit?
I did. I lived in China from 2017 to 2019, and I actually left right before the pandemic started. So I I got lucky, I guess, in that regard. I got to experience the best parts
Yeah.
of everything.
What were you doing were you working over there?
Well,
What were you doing?
well, I was working while I was living there, but I actually moved to China to study Kung Fu. I lived at a martial arts academy, and I was able to work remotely doing data analytics and research. And so that kind of started my journey as a, what do they call it now? A tech nomad or something.
Right. That
Yeah,
would
I
be
was doing it before it was cool.
right, exactly. You are what made it cool, right? So you made it cool. We'll just go with
Among the
that.
founding members, yeah, I'd say
Of
that.
course. Love it. So now you're a CIO and the company name again?
Is, oh, I don't know if you can,
Oh,
is
there it
this
is.
flipped? Can you see
Appreciation.
appreciation financially? Yeah, we work in mostly public markets with public teachers, helping them plan their retirement. We service all kinds of different financial products. However, our bread and butter is life insurance and annuities.
Got it. Awesome. So right now, and I know we've had a couple conversations before, but like what I'm really interested in, in having these conversations is the reality of AI, especially with executives, right? And with C-suite executives, I think there's this big gap, and we've talked about the gap of it's either ChatGPT or the Terminator. There's everyone who wants to jump into the weeds of AI. And then there's also the reality of how an executive, especially making decisions like you are in a day-to-day business, is being impacted by AI. So where do you where do you land on AI right now? Like where's your stance? Like where do you fall into it? How is it impacting you? No, that's kind of loaded, but we'll just kind of start with that.
Well, the thing is, where do I start in that response? I have so many thoughts on AI and where, I personally am using AI for work, but then also where I see the larger company at, and then beyond my company, the broader market. So
Yep.
I'll start with myself. I use AI all the time. I use it to help with improving coding, processing, like emails, administrative tasks. It's great. What I'm realizing for I guess the rest of the company and even our sales agents, there's opportunities for AI at every level, from
Mhm.
enhancing sales to improving efficiency and productivity. However, there's a big barrier. There's two things. There's a barrier in terms of adoption, where something's new, unfamiliar, people don't want to take the time to learn it, don't know how to use it, don't even know it's there in some
Mhm.
cases. And then the other real concern for companies, and this also speaks to the broader market as well, is the safety and privacy. I think for most marketing strategies, you can just use ChatGPT and ask it questions. But when you work in insurance or in healthcare or other industries where your customer data needs to be highly secured, when you start using AI, there becomes a big security risk in terms of what are we actually giving to the model? Is the model now training on our private data? I know ChatGPT Enterprise offers some solutions, but then there's the pushback also from scientists and academics for responsible AI adoption. How
Mhm.
much do we want the AI to know about us? So that's sort of my long, short response to your question, because I feel like you have more to add on that. So I won't go too far off in one
No,
direction.
there's a lot to it, right? And I think you're kind of hitting it exactly with on a lot of points where with the conversations that I'm having so far, and that's really around data and governance behind AI. And I think most companies are eager to improve efficiencies, right?
Yeah.
Make their workers like again more efficient, improve productivity, help overall the business, even improve profitability. I mean, really, when you look at business, that's what it is. And then AI is presenting that opportunities for that. But then I think the big question is at what cost? So when you're looking at these AI and the, how do you put it? There's so much coming at us every single day with AI, right? There's just so, and I call it a lot of noise, a lot of nonsense, but then there's some reality. So when you're looking at possibly utilizing AI into your work environment, how are you weighing that decision from a productivity, profitability, and then even a governance and compliance standpoint, especially being in a more regulated industry?
That's that's an ongoing question the answer, I guess, is still evolving to that for me. Like you said,
Yeah.
AI seems to be having new developments every day. It's such a fast-paced field right now. It's a big hot topic, and I've started running some experiments at work. We want to run some pilot programs to actually test how can we use AI to benefit our bottom line. Some of the research I've seen is that most companies are going to go towards developing their own models where they train models on their company's data and that they own that model. And then we'll end up seeing these LLMs that are highly, highly specialized to one specific industry. As you know, I'm sure it's very expensive to do that. So when you're a small to medium-sized business looking at how to implement AI, I'd say we're still trying to answer that. The one I guess result that I've had so far is that it can take a simple task and minimize that task into a matter of seconds, matter of minutes, and all it takes is just gently reprompting the AI to get it to give you a better response or more simplified response instead of spending, I think the case in question was an entire day of work on one task.
Yeah.
And that product still needed attention for days where I did it almost the same exact thing with the AI in a fraction of a second or
Yeah.
fraction of a minute. And so that's a huge cost reduction in terms of operations. But again, is the training and do people know how to use it effectively? What products on the market besides ChatGPT are best going to serve businesses?
Yeah.
I get slammed with sales calls, sales emails, sales calls, LinkedIn. Someone's calling
That's
me
probably
right
one right
now.
there.
Yeah. Speak of the devil.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd be curious to hear from you a bit about, what's been your experience in terms of, maybe what's on the market besides ChatGPT. Okay, sorry, the
Oh,
phone's
you're good.
really ringing.
No, it's actually made a perfect point. It was the
Yeah,
timing. It's almost like you
it's pretty
planned that.
good,
You're like, okay, when someone call me when I start talking about this. Uh,
right? And I hope it's not urgent, but it can wait.
you know what's interesting? You mentioned an interesting point, and that's having the internal development of AI for companies and AI and businesses developing their own AI platform, and that's almost the bigger direction and to me the more efficient direction that I'm seeing right now because you have AI in marketing, you have AI in accounting, and you have AI in cybersecurity, and you have AI, but there are all these disparate AI systems. And when I say AI, we always talk about AI as a framework, right? So that could be machine learning, data, just behavioral analytics, things that AI use, but they're all using the semblance or this portion of AI, but they're not tying together. So to me, where AI becomes relevant is where a business is able to tie in all their data, right? So when you're tying in all your information together and it's remembering it and it's making somewhat conscious decisions within that environment, that's where AI gets exciting to me. So it's not like I have a CRM that does AI and I have this that does AI, but how do we tie all this data together? Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah, and that is something that we have been thinking about and that I've been looking at. One thing that I actually developed as part of our work was a privacy protection filter for prompting so that
Mhm.
we can look at certain spreadsheets and just copy paste the data into a prompt and then, kind of mask that data in real time so that we can get contextually relevant responses without actually training the model on like a public model.
Yeah.
But the question about having like a custom AI that bridges everything from the CRM to the SQL Server.
Yeah.
Have you come across any companies using that?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything, I'm not seeing anything out there yet where it's taken this this all-inclusive approach to it. Again, I'm seeing disparate AI systems that are out there. Now, what I am seeing is I'm seeing data collaboration companies that are coming in and they're collaborating all the different databases together to make it, in
Then
my
having an
mind,
AI on that.
exactly, because that's where you need right now AI. If you go to this system and this system and this system, it's going to make some somewhat intelligent decisions about it. But if you can collaborate the data and you can bring all that data together, I think that's where it starts. But I'm not seeing any, I think there's a huge opening right now in the market right now for a company that can come in and make it relevant. But the biggest thing, and another point that you made that is interesting, is the use of ChatGPT and how you use that, but you protect your data. And I think if companies start owning their own GPT systems, right, that are out there, then you don't have so much governance. You know, you're shielding all this information from going out. But if you own the data and you're using a proprietary type of GPT or AI system, well, then you're not having to shield as much data. Now, what you do have to protect is making sure that accounting isn't accessing cells with, the silos within your organization, but at least you're not worrying about the external organizations with it. Does that resonate?
It's an interesting, yeah, and it's interesting because I'm sure there's companies out there chomping at the bit to get something like that going. And yet maybe they're constrained by the regulations of the industry because there are no regulations yet. And
Yeah,
you don't know, or we don't know how clients will react to, let's say, oh, we don't want an AI looking at my policy or my health information. They maybe, if as a company we decide to start some sort of I don't know, I'm going to call it global, like a global AI for the company, would we have to get consent from our clients because it's now accessing potentially their address, their phone number? And I think when you said in the beginning about the Terminator thing,
yeah,
there are people that are genuinely, I see videos pop up all the time talking about AI could cause extinction. We should be afraid. We need responsible adoption. And on the one hand, I have a more, I guess, friendly approach towards AI because I see it as still a computer that's not going to go outside. It's not actually conscious. It's still a
sure.
program. It's still ones and zeros, as much as it might appear conscious to us because it's so well trained with so much information. But it's a real concern for companies. Let's say as experts in the field of AI or data analysis or cybersecurity, we know that AI is a powerful tool.
Hmm.
And so we're excited to get working with it. But I think the pushback might really end up coming from clients and consumers themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And definitely, especially when you're working in heavily regulated industries, like finance and other things, I can see that there will be some concerns with that. But if you look at, and you mentioned that, that's a great word, a tool. If you look at AI as a tool, the difference is, like you said, it's an interactive tool. And so
Yeah,
whenever there's human like interaction, then we suddenly have this like idea that, oh, now AI is human. Well, it's not, because we're still at the point where we're training AI how to act. We're
yeah.
still teaching AI what to do. It's not going in and learning itself. And I think that obviously there will be some great AI systems that come out that start doing a little bit more self-learning and some stuff, especially in a business environment. But at the end of the day, we're still training it, we're still teaching it, we're still telling it and giving it the parameters. And even if you go into Chat GPT and you have a conversation, or into any AI program and you say, hey, do this, if it's outside the parameters, it's just going to say, no, I can't do that. So to me, running AI, having AI do analytics or any kind of learning or anything within the environment is the same thing that we've used with other tools, just a more advanced way and a more efficient way of doing it.
And I tend to agree more on that side of, hey, this is a very powerful tool that we as a company can use to serve our clients better, to make sure, we can use AI to actually, if it was a global like model for our company per se, we could, let's say it's connecting to the CRM and our database. And then we see when was the last time this person was contacted.
Mm.
Have they had any life-changing events that we should be aware of? Has their agent left? It can tell us all this stuff much more quickly than if we have to go and discover it for ourselves and then potentially lose that client because they're not feeling like they got attention. And I think in terms of the bigger, broader spectrum of what's going on with data security, I mean, I think the government's data and major like mortgage institutions' data have been hacked and leaked to foreign governments and foreign nationals. I get robocalls all day long
Right.
that maybe is it, I don't really know if there is a security concern that hasn't happened yet. If that makes sense, that maybe I'm concerned about AI, but all those concerns have already happened to potentially malicious actors already who
Sure.
already are trying to scam me already. Someone called my grandma, I think a few months ago, pretending, saying I got in a car accident. They
Yep.
were pretending to be my lawyer, trying to have her wire them money. So all of that happened with or without AI that I think it's like the Wild West, and I think for better or worse, we're gonna end up using it across systems. And I think the smaller companies have more of a shot of doing more before the bigger companies because they have a lot more regulation. I actually want to ask you, because we're both in Vegas, are you going to the AI conference? I think there's one coming up in like 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, I'm out of the country in 2 weeks, but yeah, I was
Okay.
bummed out. I was like hoping to make it, but yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and that's another thing we're going to see, right? Is a lot more conferences and stuff up and up. But that I'm interested. You're going to have to give me a
Yeah,
little like
I'm gonna
feedback
ask
on
some
that.
questions of like what you were just talking about is like who has implemented some sort of company-wide AI that can, make smart recommendations and data-driven decision making for leaders. Because ultimately, I think that one of the real powers of AI is data-driven decision making. We talk about it all the time
Yeah.
in companies, and an AI can just do that in like a lightning speed.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting what comes out because I'm seeing a couple things with AI, with artificial intelligence, and especially the marketing of it is not complete vaporware, meaning not just complete fake, like fake false claims, but I am seeing that the reality when I get into most AI systems doesn't meet the expectation, rarely. So I would be very interested to see what they're doing and what they could, how do they define decision making? And for us, for you as a CIO, you might want more decision recommendations and more idea recommendations or more ideas and thought leadership around what you do in your day to day than what you want AI to actually make a decision for you, right?
Yeah, I kind of want, and this is specific to, our company, our industry, I kind of want to have more, like more of an overview of all our programs. What are people doing? What are, who's recruiting who and training who, and
Yep.
to get a faster picture of that, I think it would really help, me in my position to communicate to the other leaders what's going on company wide. Because I think as CIO, I have a unique position kind of overlooking all departments. I look
Mhm.
into finance, operations, sales, recruiting, marketing, and to use AI to kind of help gather insights would be great. I actually am looking to propose potentially helping use AI for training because a lot of people have been training their kids like how to learn languages through AI. And I thought one challenge that we have in the sales sector is effective training of new people.
Yeah.
And you can't guarantee from trainer to trainer that they're going to have the same method or availability for that new person. And as a company, it's really important to us that our new people are able to succeed. It's like a make or break for them. And so we thought we can custom train an AI potentially to help guide the training process and always have basically a trainer on hand for new people that specifically understands our company, our products, our market, everything that they might need to know to succeed as a new person in this business.
Yeah, and I like this idea, especially of training. And there's some areas where I like the human element. I think it's important. I think there's other areas where the human element creates bias and difficulty to work with. And maybe the trainer's having a bad day. Maybe, again, the trainer's training in a different method, but consistency, right? So consistency is difficult to attain with the human element. I think another point that you're bringing up that's interesting is a lot of what you're talking about is out there. but it's again siloed, and that might not be a bad thing as I think about it, because there's so many different applications and programs out there, and now everyone is saying, oh, I have AI in my CRM, I have AI in this, right? And
Yeah.
now I think what it is going to be doing is, okay, well, what does that mean? And I think that's where we as CTOs, CIOs, and as thought leaders and tech leaders, we have to start understanding, okay, what does that really, when you say you have AI, like what does that mean, and what does it do? And then also what we have to do is we have to start making a decision on priorities within the company, just like any decision we make. But okay, what is our number one pain point that we have right now that we need to fix? What is the number one way we could increase efficiencies? And if it's training, then it's okay, let's go find, it might be an existing training system that is now implementing AI type of features in it. It might be something new that's using an AI model and methodology to training. But I think that's really how we're going to have to start looking at stuff, is like, okay, I need this done. I know AI can improve it. Who's doing it best?
And it's so relevant to say that, because when even the question of who's doing it best, I think it's still a race to the finish line for that.
Yep.
Because, for example, you can have, I think I keep coming back to ChatGPT because it's one of the most popular out there.
Sure.
But and the quality of responses, when we say AI, what do we mean? I think there's a struggle to get not only a quality response, but how to help people generate quality prompts. And
Yep.
then let's say you have the AI training. I actually haven't used any training platform with AI in it yet. So
Sure.
maybe that's why I can't use it as an example, but the quality of the response you can get just depending on the prompt is so extreme that I think that's going to be one of the hardest parts in implementation is how do you, I haven't seen anything yet that really helps seamlessly make amazing prompts, help the user get to what they're doing like quickly, and then provide something that's relevant, whether it be for
Yeah.
training or for sales. I think for graphics, it's great. There's a
Yeah.
lot of great graphics, but then again, the human element is one thing I think when it comes to dissenting opinion and having real debate where I don't think AI should replace that. And I don't know if it can, especially because it's only designed to do what we ask it. It's designed to be a yes man.
Yeah.
You know, I could say, write this, I won't, derogatory story about my political opponent. And I remember before ChatGPT got a little bit more, it used to be more unhinged. Let's just say that it would
Right.
write crazy stories if you told it to. And I've seen, I think in terms of human elements, we can't fully remove that, but we do need to find a way to integrate, like, I don't know what you call it, prompt engineering. It sounds so fancy, but really just how to get quality responses from AI and push back if you disagree that maybe it's also the data that AI is trained on. It's not just the prompt itself. It's also, you can have a language model that's just run from simple Python and call it AI,
Yeah.
but it might not have sufficient data to provide any relevant responses.
Right. And isn't that so, when I think about this is so, it goes in so many different directions because of the human element and because of the technical capabilities of AI. So if I look at something like coding and I ask AI like, hey, how, or let's say GPT, how can I best code X, Y, and Z? And it could be a PHP, it could be Python, it could be whatever, and it's going to spit out some really good code and something relevant. That's what I want AI for. That's what it
Yeah.
is. But the other side and this other dynamic is when we talk about training and that human element of training is when AI is being trained, it's being trained by data type of programmers. And that's where I think it's really struggling is I think the people who are more data oriented, trying to get a human element out of AI, they're not able to do that. And I even read something where they were saying that your typical programmers, when it comes to AI, are actually having a hard time programming a lot of the AI flows because they're not coming out human-like, because they're ones and zeros in data and they're just really stuck into the I guess the weeds of technology, where linguists, right? I think people who understand language. And I had a conversation with the last person I was talking about this, and it was about the EQ, right? The emotional intelligence. And those are the people that I think are going to be able to go in because they're and really program unique AI applications because they understand the human element, not the data element. We've all seen a program that's been programmed by a bunch of programmers. And then the users go to use it and they're like, what is this? I don't even, and the programmer's like, well, it's
Yeah.
obvious. It's right here, right? You've seen it.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I could think of quite a few scenarios where that happened.
Right.
And I don't want to cut you off, but I think there's already been comparisons between, I think, Anthropic's Claude AI versus ChatGPT, where I guess they have more of that human EQ element
Hmm.
in responses versus ChatGPT can be a bit more like to the point
Yeah.
or not as well. And one thing I've been working on building outside in the startup I mentioned is there a way that we can kind of combine these AIs and that then based on the user's prompt, that it will understand which one it should use? Am I coding? Okay, I'll pull from the coding model. Oh, am I talking about law? I'll pull from law. I
Yeah.
think eventually where I would see AI going would be somewhat of a Google for AI,
Yeah.
where Google, it will be smart enough to understand what you want based on your prompt and then pull from the model best suited to respond to that.
Right. I want to take that even one step further with memory. So not just respond to the prompt, but respond to the user because we're all
Oh yeah.
unique. And I think memory, in my mind, that's the biggest obstacle we have is if you go into GPT or you go into most AI systems, even the Microsoft one, what is it, Copilot? It
Yeah.
doesn't remember your previous conversation per
Yeah.
se. That's the disconnect right now is I think what we need to start looking at is AI that remembers my conversations, what's relevant out of the conversation. Of course, we have to teach it like this is relevant and this isn't. So next time I go in and start chatting with it, it already knows what my style is, what my writing style is, my habits are. It already knows what my knowledge level is and all that. But without memory, for it to pull from. And maybe that there's deep data silos, right? Data lakes that are going to have to be created to really have memory. But in my mind, that's where we're going to, what you and I are talking about is going to get exciting is when there's a memory aspect. And when Lydia goes in, it's remembering you specifically and your personality to an extent specifically as far as it can understand. But when I go in, I have a different approach because we're all wired, right? You understand
I
neurodiversity,
get
right?
so excited thinking about this subject because then
Yeah.
it bridges off into the okay, yes, that is where we're going. You know, that
Yeah.
is something we need. And starting just maybe from where I am today, I want to be able to analyze much larger amounts of data than, you know, I think ChatGPT can be like 90 rows at a time,
Yeah.
for example. But then when we look at the very, very personalized, let's say I'm going to call an algorithm because my GPT will be different from your GPT. And I think this is where people start getting afraid of AI a bit is they want the benefits of it being highly personalized. And that is one of the greatest advantages of having a personalized AI is the relevant responses you can get.
Yep.
But also, I guess the scary part when we see social media, I think that's where it could potentially maybe be leveraged by some malicious actors for like psyops or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, for political gain, I should say, is if you have so much data on a population, you can use their algorithms against them or to, you know, sway voting or do things that we already kind of see happening with social media where the
Hmm.
algorithm is, you know, putting people on the left even further to the left and people on the right further to the right, where now
Right.
there's like no middle ground. And it's happening because we're all in our phone all day, you know, and that
Yeah.
becomes our worldview now. This algorithm is dictating how I see people around me, and half the time I won't even talk to them, but I'll maybe be formulating opinions based on my phone. And so I think I'll
You-
just my phone is I just noticed my phone has been going crazy on the side over here.
okay.
But
You're up.
I think a responsible, there's this push for, hey, let's think ahead. Let's have this responsible adoption. We know we want improved memory, highly, you know, highly fine-tuned models, but at what cost could it be in the future? And what can we put in place to prevent those negative blowback type
Yeah.
events from happening?
No, absolutely. It's going to be, I think with any kind of technology, there's always bad usage of that technology, right? And there's always ill intent to go out and cause more harm and more damage. And then it creates another opportunity, which is the people who are going out and trying to stop the, the damage and all that. So one more question, and then I'll wrap up. I totally appreciate your time. I know with anyone in your role, you're super busy, but we talked about sales reps coming in and being like, hey, like hit me up all the time. What about the internal demand right now? How much? Because I know when I was a IT director during the time of the cloud, right? And
Oh, okay.
everyone was always, hey, what's the cloud? When are we going to do? Are we going to the cloud? What? It was just always around the cloud. Like everyone internally, they didn't know what the cloud was, but they wanted to be on the cloud, right? Are you seeing that internally? Are you getting a lot of pressure internally from different departments and different silos that how are we utilizing AI? Is it the same thing?
I'll tell you a funny secret. It's not really a secret, but I've been the one pushing for it since I got this role. I'm like, where is our
Interesting.
AI? Where is our AI? Because I just ever since ChatGPT came out, I have been a huge proponent of it. For me personally, it's allowed me to like triple what I can do with my time and
Hmm.
allowed me to do where I feel more limited by what question can I ask, not necessarily how much time do I have,
Yeah.
which I think is one of the most powerful aspects of this. And so I've been really trying to push on my company, how can we use AI? Where are we going to use AI? What can we do with it? And most people maybe still not feeling that it's relevant or that it's something they want to use. And so I actually kind of have a flip. I feel like
Yeah.
it's a bit flipped. And maybe it has to do with the perception of security, where the cloud, maybe before when it was seemed very secure, like, hey, everyone can collaborate, this is
Yeah.
great, people can see the immediate value. With AI, I think there's still a lot of mystery and people just not wanting to do something they're not familiar with. I don't know if you experience something like that in your career where there's something that you really thought is amazing and you can see that it's coming and going to impact the company, but maybe other people are just like, no, no, we don't, that's okay, we don't need that.
Yeah, I think AI is one of them. I've seen, I mean, throughout my career, I've seen cybersecurity, funny enough, sadly enough, was another one where I saw a lot, especially when cybercrime got more sophisticated and ransomware started coming out, where people thought, no, we've got virus protection, and the companies were very reluctant to invest in. But
Mm.
I think you're right with AI, you're going to eventually invest in it or not. You're eventually
Yeah.
going to utilize it or not. And if you don't, you're going to have all your competition and all your competitors who are going to be ahead of the game. And this is where you get to have fun in your role, is you get to figure out how do I and where do I implement it safely and effectively and grow with AI. Meaning, and you mentioned the pendulum of left and right politics, but how do we find that balance in technology to where we don't swing too far right and we don't swing too far left? We don't overexpose ourselves, but we don't underutilize it. And that, I think, is the challenge for the especially the technology leaders right now.
Yeah, and I will, I guess wrap it up on this point as well, where I think part of the pushback that I experienced was because we were coming out of a time in our business where after the whole COVID situation, we had gone completely virtual.
Mhm.
And so a lot of all the appointments are being on Zoom, and we really want the human element of our business to stay as a central focus. Now that,
Yeah.
hey, COVID, everyone's vaccinated, the lockdowns are over, you need to sit down knee to knee in front of people. So I could see some of the resistance to over investing in technology when we want people to still create human connection with their clients, because at the end of the day, that's really what sells. But I think I'm getting to a point of understanding with the other leaders at the company that we have many opportunities for AI in marketing, in client relationships, and data analysis and operations. So maybe when we talk again next time, we'll we'll have some more updates.
Yeah, we'll definitely collaborate some more. And I think you're spot on. AI is either going to remove the human element or amplify the human element. And we get to choose which way we're going to do it. And I agree with you. I think we need to utilize AI to amplify the human element in the environment, not remove the human element. So
Yeah.
awesome. Lydia, thank you so much. I know we've played phone tag for a while. It's been fun getting to know you, and I look forward to just collaborating with you some more. Thank you.
Likewise. Thank you. Have a good day.